Shalom once again. Salakia. I did a video in one take before, and the video was about an hour long. But when I went to upload it, for some reason, Mobizen had only recorded 20 minutes of the hour-long lesson I did, so I have to redo it. So Salakia for that. But this is me redoing the part of the lesson that was lost. So we was going into the purpose of a woman, according to the Holy Bible, which is to serve her husband and to bring forth his children. All right. So what I wanted to do, or the point of the lesson, is that I was going into the fact that it's the Most High who controls issues of infertility. So I'm going to use some examples because there's, I think, off the top of my head, 4 or 5 very good examples in the scriptures which could be edifying to speak about. Now, Lord willing, I want to do a few parts to this topic because there's a few different accounts that I want to get into. But I'm going to stick with one at the moment. So we're going to go to one of the first accounts, which is of Sarai. And Sarai was barren and without child. So let's go into the meaning of the word barren in the blue letter. The word for barren is
Strong's H6135. Akkad.
akar. And the outline of biblical usage is barren or sterile. Strong's definitions goes on to say sterile as if extirpated in the generative organs, male or female, barren woman. And so meaning that they've got trouble with their regenerative organs. So let's go into the common dictionary definition. This is barren. It says not producing or incapable of producing offspring, sterile, as in a barren woman, unproductive, unfruitful. See, now these are good breakdowns of the word because it goes into the deeper point of a woman, because a woman at her core knows her purpose biologically is to bring forth children. And when they can't do that, they feel a great sense of a loss of purpose. So the definition number 2 here is of barren. It says unproductive or unfruitful, as in a barren land. Now that's another good definition, because if you think about the way the Most High designed things, he decided the man to be the seed bearer, and for the woman, she really represents the ground, because the man will put his seed into the woman and the woman brings forth his fruit. So if you look at that in a natural farm type scenario, you plow the ground and then you plant the seed in it, and then eventually that ground cultivates the seed, and then that seed brings forth life. It's the same with conception with humans. Woman is likened unto the ground, and the man is likened unto the seed sower, the husbandman. So when a woman cannot bring forth children, she feels unproductive and unfruitful. Definition 3 says without capacity to attract, as a barren period in American architecture. Definition 4, mentally unproductive, dull, stupid. Definition 5, not producing results, fruitless, as in a barren effort. Definition 6, destitute, bereft, lacking, usually followed by of, as in barren of tender feelings. Definition noun 1, usually barren, level, or slightly rolling land, usually with a sandy soil and few trees and relatively infertile. So again, these are all words that sum up a woman who can't bring forth children. Now you can see why psychologically, although they may not say it outwardly, psychologically and in their spirit, women know these things. They know them at their core. That's why when modern life doesn't align with how they really feel they should be operating, it causes stress and depression and bug outs and all kinds of other shit, because we're really made for a purpose. And when we fulfill that purpose, we feel a sense of accomplishment and achievement. When we don't fulfill our purpose, well, this is the breeding ground for what people call midlife crises. So let's go back to the scriptures. In Genesis, let's go back to Genesis 16 now. Because if you remember, I established the point that Sarai, Abraham's wife, was barren, right? So this goes into it. Genesis 16 verse 1. Now Sarai, Abraham's wife, bare him no children, and she had a handmaid, an Egyptian, whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said unto Abram, Behold now, the Lord Yahweh hath restrained me from bearing. See, and this is a good point, because this is obviously in the ancient world, but this shows you in the ancient world, women understood that it was the Most High who controlled issues of conception, because it says, And Sarai said unto Abraham, Behold now, the Lord Yahweh hath restrained me. So she knew it was the power of the Lord that was restraining her from bearing children. Have restrained me from bearing. I pray thee, go in unto my maid. It may be that I may obtain children by her. And Abram hearkened unto the voice of Sarai. And Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, her maid, the Egyptian, after Abram had dwelt 10 years in the land of Canaan, and gave her to her husband Abram to be his wife. And he went in unto Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she had conceived, her mistress was despised in her eyes. Meaning that when Hagar got pregnant, she started to get a little bit proud, a little bit puffed up, and to look at her mistress sideways, because, women, the scriptures say all wickedness is but little to the wickedness of a woman. But the point is that Hagar got puffed up because she thought she was better than Sarai, because she was able to bear children and Sarai was not. And also Sarai despised Hagar because she was jealous of the fact that she was bearing her husband's child. Even though Sarai told Abram to do this thing, she caused a lot of drama in that situation herself. Verse 5, And Sarai said unto Abram, My wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid into thy bosom. And when she saw she had conceived, I was despised in her eyes. The Lord Yahweh judge between me and thee. But Abram said unto Sarai, Behold, thy maid is in thy hand. Do to her as it pleaseth thee. And when Sarai dealt hardly with her, she fled from her face. Meaning that Sarai was being abusive towards Hagar, to the point where Hagar had to up and run away. Verse 7, And the angel of the Lord Yahweh found her by a fountain of water in the wilderness, by the fountain in the way to Shur. And he said, Hagar, Sarai's maid, whence camest thou, and whither wilt thou go? And she said, I flee from the face of my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Return to thy mistress, and submit thyself under her hands. And the angel of the Lord Yahweh said unto her, I will multiply thy seed exceedingly, that it shall not be numbered for multitude. And the angel of the Lord said unto her, Behold, thou art with child, and shalt bear a son, and shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord Yahweh hath heard thy affliction. So there you have it. That's where you get the nation of the Ishmaelites from, which are, predominantly so-called Arabs. They all go back to the forefather Ishmael. Now, even though Ishmael was Abraham's son, he wasn't the son of the promise. And the covenants were not passed on to Ishmael. They were passed on to his son that was going to come up next, which is Isaac, who is the forefather of Jacob, who is the progenitor of the nation of Israel. And that's who the blessings are passed on to, through the line of Abraham, Isaac, and then resting upon Jacob and his seed, right? So Ishmael ain't got no part in the prophecies and the blessings, yeah. Where am I? Find where I was again. Verse 12. And he will be a wild man, and his hand will be against every man, and every man's hand against him, and he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren. Yeah, that's that. So that's the Genesis or conception of Ishmael. I want to go next to hang on, bear me a second. I'll find out where the next precept is. There we go. It's not the one. Hang on, bear me. I'm trying to find the right precept I want. Let me just find it manually. Bear with me. Just finding it. Okay, this is it. Genesis 17:15. Forgive me, I just defined it manually by reading. And the Moses said unto Abraham, as for Sarai, thy wife, thou shalt not call her name Sarai, but Sarah shall her name be. And I will bless her, and give thee a son also of her. Yea, I will bless her, and she shall be a mother of nations. Kings of people shall be of her. Then Abraham fell upon his face, and laughed, and said in his heart, shall a child be born unto him that is 100 years old? And shall Sarah that is 90 years old bear? And Abraham said unto the Most High, Oh, that Ishmael might live before thee. And the Most High said, Sarah thy wife shall bear thee a son indeed, and thou shalt call his name Isaac, and I will establish my covenant with him for an everlasting covenant, and with his seed after him. See, so it goes through Abraham, Isaac, and then rests on Jacob. Ishmael ain't got no part in it, and it goes on to say here. And as for Ishmael, I have heard thee. Behold, I have blessed him, and will make him fruitful, and will multiply him exceedingly. 12 princes shall he beget, and I will make him a great nation. Yeah, so those Ishmaelites, they've got their blessing. You know, they're just doing their thing, living their lives. You know, as I said, mainly it's mostly you Arabs, right? But they ain't got no part in the covenant. They ain't got no part in being in the kingdom of heaven with Israel, because they're not of the covenant. They're just the nation that the Most High has given a little portion to. But it's not the portion that's going to belong to the seed of Jacob, which is the Israelites. They're the ones who are going to inherit the whole earth. In fact, the whole universe. Verse 21, but my covenant will I establish with Isaac, which Sarah shall bear unto thee at this set time in the next year. So let's go on to this account here. Right, this is verse 9 of Genesis 18. When the angels visited Abraham, and it says, and they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? An angel said, behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were of old, and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Yeah, so she passed to her what you call in today's world her menopause, where she stopped being able to conceive, right? Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? my Lord being old also? See, there you go. She says, shall I have pleasure? Meaning that in the ancient world, it was the greatest pleasure and the greatest honor for a woman to bring forth the child of her husband. You know, because that goes back into what the essence of this lesson is about. You know, what the role of a man is and what the role of a woman is. And the role of the woman is to bring forth children for her husband. We read that in Genesis 3. I'll get that again one more time before I close out, just for edification's sake. And the Lord said unto Abram, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is there anything too hard for the Lord Yahweh? At the time appointed I will return unto thee, according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid, so she lied. And he said, nay, but thou didst laugh. So she got caught. But the angels winked at it, and Sarah ended up conceiving and bearing Abraham a child in her old age. Where it goes on to say, this chapter. Now there's also one more point I want to make. That it's the Most High who controls the opening and the closing of a woman's womb, and this is a great example. This is just to get to the point, verse 17, Genesis 20 and 17. So Abraham prayed unto the Most High, and the Most High healed Abimelech and his wife and his maidservants, and they bare children. For the Lord Yahweh had closed up all the wombs of the house of Abimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's wife. See, so that shows that the Most High has the power to either open or close a woman's womb. Yeah? So, just to reiterate the point, Genesis 3, about verse 13. What's the role of a woman in reality, according to the Bible? Genesis 3:13, and the Lord power said unto the woman, what is this? That's not the one I want. Verse 16, Salakia. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So that's the purpose of what a woman is according to the scriptures. That's her role, what she's supposed to do. Obviously in today's world, Esau's corrupted it all. But in the kingdom, we're going to go back to the ancient ways. The scriptures talk about seek ye the old paths and consider the good way, roughly paraphrasing. We're going to go back to that. And women, they're not going to be bugging out as much as, well, at least Israelite women aren't going to be bugging out as much as they are in Israel, because they'll feel happy and honored to fulfill their purpose. And childbearing will no longer be painful for the Israelite woman. It's going to be nothing but joy and laughter and happiness when they're bringing forth the children of the elect in the kingdom. So I'm going to end this lesson here. So lucky I had to split it into two parts. I wanted to do one lesson per situation that I want to talk about in the scriptures, because there's, I think, 2 or 3 other situations I want to go into, but those have to be in other lessons. But for this one, unfortunately, I had to make this 2 parts because, as I said, forgive me, as I said, my phone was playing up. It said it was screen recording, but it only recorded 20 minutes of the hour-long lesson that I did before, so I had to redo part of that. But anyway, I hope that's been edifying, and for now, I'll say shalom, and Lord willing, I'll catch you on the next lesson where I'll expound upon this topic even further. Shalom for now.